Good evening. You're watching the news at 6 with me, Shan Russell. The news at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. The impasse continues over Jammu and Kashmir government formation. BJP Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh meets PDP's Mehbooba Mufti. Supreme Court agrees to re-examine verdict on homosexuality, refers matter to 5-judge Constitution bench. RBI keeps rates intact, says it will watch inflationary pressures and upcoming budget for a clear roadmap on key macroeconomic parameters. Central government hails 10 years of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says funds will not be curtailed for the scheme. And Senator Ted Cruz defeats billionaire Donald Trump at the Iowa Republican caucus. Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton wins by a coin toss after a close tie with Senator Bernie Sanders. Well, our top story this evening, both the state units of the PDP and the BJP held separate meetings today to discuss the possibility of government formation in Jammu and Kashmir. This was on a day when both sides were slated to convey their position on the issue to Governor NN Vora.
The BJP is blaming the PDP for the delay in forming the government in Jammu and Kashmir. Party leaders claim the uncertainties from the other side. However, they maintain that the BJP is still committed to the common minimum program of the coalition.
Common minimum program के effective implementation की बात है. जहाँ तक common minimum program के implementation का प्रश्न है, day 1 से उसको sincerely letter and spirit में implement करने के लिए हम सब, हमारा पार्टी हमेशा प्रतिबद्ध है. इसलिए इस विषय में किसी प्रकार की आशंका का कोई गुंजाइश नहीं है.
Governor NN Vora has already asked coalition partners BJP and PDP to clarify their stand on government formation.
मैं चाहूंगी कि हमारी जो अलायंस बीजेपी के साथ है, जो मुफ्ती साहब ने की है, जो नई सरकार बननी है, नई सरकार बनने से पहले बीजेपी ने गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से कुछ ऐसे मेजर्स हों जम्मू कश्मीर के हवाले से नहीं, खाली जम्मू कश्मीर लद्दाख के हवाले से कुछ ऐसी चीजें हों जिससे जम्मू कश्मीर में एक अच्छा माहौल बने, और जब अगर नई सरकार बनती है तो उसको एक स्पेस मिले, उसको एक फ्लिप मिले. तो मैंने ये बातें कही हैं.
The core group of the state BJP held meetings and also sent a 3-member team to New Delhi for consultations with the central leadership. BJP's Deputy Chief Minister Nirmal Singh also met Mehbooba Mufti ahead of a meeting with the governor.
कर्सी काल के लिए मैं उनके पास गया था, क्योंकि वो हमारे कोलिशन पार्टनर है, अभी भी है, अभी तक तो कोलिशन चल रही है. ठीक है, सिर्फ सीएम वाली सरकार की है, तो उसमें इस प्रकार की है, तो इसलिए कर्सी काल के लिए. मोटे तौर पर जो है हम चाहते हैं कि जो नरेंद्र भाई मोदी और मुफ्ती साहब ने को जो विजन लिया था जम्मू कश्मीर के बारे में, उसको कंटिन्यू करने के लिए.
Yesterday we went to the High Command to discuss few of the issues regarding so far as our party is concerned. We have to discuss so many issues. We are meeting today, China's governor also, Governor Sabha also, and we will definitely whatever comes out, we will brief after we comes out, and we will definitely brief the press also.
Meanwhile, on Tuesday, traders called for a one-day shutdown to protest against the government's failure in compensating them for the huge losses. Only a handful of people were seen out on the roads.
जो 2014 में यहाँ पे फ्लड आई थी, यहाँ पे काफ़ी नुकसान हुआ था ट्रेडर्स का, दुकानदारों का. हालांकि सारे कश्मीर में फ्लड आई थी, लेकिन इसके बाद इनने डिमांड की थी हमें कुछ रिलीफ चाहिए. लेकिन जब से आप जानते हो कि इनको मिला कुछ नहीं, बस इनको ख्वाब दिखाए गए कि हम आपको ये देंगे वो देंगे, लेकिन एट लास्ट जब इन्होंने देखा कि इनको कुछ नहीं दिया गया, इसलिए आज ट्रेडरों ने कश्मीर में कॉल दिए कि दुकानें बंद रहेंगी और कश्मीर बंद रहेगा.
The traders' protest for the second day comes amid concerns that the government could abandon the proposal to provide financial rehabilitation to the state. PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti has maintained that she wanted to reassess whether the Narendra Modi government would take substantive steps within a set time frame to address the core political and economic issues of the state. With 27 MLAs in the 87-member assembly, the PDP ran a coalition government with the BJP's 25 legislators for 10 months, till the demise of Chief Minister Mufti Saeed on January 7th brought about the current situation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
The Supreme Court has agreed to re-examine the law that criminalizes homosexual acts and makes them punishable by up to a decade in prison. A 5-judge constitution bench of the Supreme Court will hear the curative petition seeking re-examination of its verdict criminalizing gay sex under Section 377. A 3-judge bench comprising Chief Justice T.S. Thakur and Justices A.R. Dave and J.S. Khekar referred it to a constitution bench, saying that important issues concerning the constitution were involved in the matter. There are 8 curative petitions seeking re-examination of the order by which the Delhi High Court verdict decriminalizing Section 377 was set aside.
Chief Justice acknowledged the arguments of the petitioners that 377 is a matter of constitutional importance. The advocate used the words and said that it was the most precious and intimate of rights, and that the discussion on 377 should happen before a 5-judge bench. So that referral has been made. We will get a chance to argue before a 5-judge bench, and we will get to debate the issue with the seriousness that it deserves.
The Supreme Court decided the matter be referred to the 5-judges bench because it considers there are constitutional questions involved. And therefore they thought it is fit and proper that it should be referred to the Constitution bench. Primarily, none of the issues that we raised on fundamental rights were addressed. And secondly, there was a change in law, which the Supreme Court noticed but did not see the effect of it, and on the basis of which they should have had a fresh hearing, which they didn't do.
The Reserve Bank of India kept interest rates intact in its 6th bi-monthly monetary policy review of the current fiscal. The central bank also chose to keep a watch on inflationary pressures before making its next move. It also said it will look to the upcoming budget for a clear roadmap on key macroeconomic parameters.
Loan EMIs are not falling anytime soon. The RBI is keeping the repo rate at which the central bank lends money to banks unchanged at 6.75% and the reverse repo rate at 7.75%. The RBI also kept the cash reserve ratio, the proportion of deposits banks need to keep with RBI, unchanged at 4%. The RBI has lowered its key policy repo rate by 125 basis points since last January, but banks have passed on only around 50 to 60 basis points to borrowers.
The Reserve Bank continues to be accommodative, even as it leaves the policy rate unchanged in this review, while awaiting further data on the development of inflation.
The central bank says while inflation is expected to hit 6% for January 2016, however, implementation of the 7th Pay Commission could impart an upward momentum to it for the next 1 or 2 years. Analysts say the RBI's decision was on expected lines as inflation exhibited a rising trend. However, industrial production plunged to an over 4-year low, contracting 3.2% in November, raising expectations of corporate India for a rate cut.
Market was expecting that he might like to push the economy. But I think Mr. Rajan is thinking in a different direction. He would like to know the policy initiatives.
The RBI should be a little bold enough and to encourage the industry. Rate cut was expected, and we were expecting that something should come.
Reserve Bank kept its growth projections for Indian economy unchanged at 7.4% for the current fiscal, a tad higher than 7.3% forecast by the World Bank. Meanwhile, it pegged the growth to quicken to 7.6%. The RBI will also ease regulations to help startups raise foreign funding. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act completed 10 years of implementation today. The government held a Manrega Sammelan in the national capital to mark a decade of successful completion of the Rural Guarantee Act, where Finance Minister Arun Jaitley sought to dispel doubts that the NDA government would end or replace the law with a new program. He, in fact, added that the BJP-led government has boosted spending under the UPA's flagship scheme.
The 10th anniversary of Manrega saw both the Congress and the BJP vying for credit. While the centre hailed the scheme as a cause of national pride at a Manrega Sammelan at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi travelled to a remote hamlet in Andhra Pradesh to celebrate it as a Congress program. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley claimed the NDA government had brought a transformation in the rural job guarantee scheme. He said the scheme was in a pitiable state under the UPA due to frequent curtailing of funds.
कोई भी योजना ऐसी नहीं होती जिसकी लिखाई पत्थर के ऊपर हो. They are not cast in stone. और इसलिए उसका सुधार करते रहना, उससे एसेट क्रिएशन भी हो, उससे रोजगार के अवसर भी हों, उसमें कोई बिचौलिया पैसे ना ले पाए, इसलिए डीबीटी के माध्यम से बैंक अकाउंट के अंदर सीधे साधन जाएं. ये सारी जितनी योजनाएं हैं और सारे जितने परिवर्तन आपने किए हैं, इन्होंने मनरेगा का स्वरूप भी बदला है. इस देश की गरीब जनता का कल्याण भी इससे हुआ है.
Jaitley also sought to allay fears that the government will discontinue or cut fund allocation to the program.
शायद ये पहला वर्ष होगा जिसमें जो 34-35 हजार करोड़ रुपया दिया गया था वो केवल पूरा खर्च ही नहीं हुआ, उसके अतिरिक्त मनरेगा में शायद कुछ और साधन भी दे दिए जाए. और ऐतिहासिक दृष्टि से भी वास्तविक व्यय जो होता है इस योजना में सबसे अधिक इस वर्ष में होगा.
Rural Development Minister Chaudhary Birendra Singh called the achievements of the decade-long program a source of national pride and celebration.
क्योंकि जब तक ग्रामीण अंचल के अंदर हम आर्थिक तौर पे अपनी 70% गांव की आबादी को आर्थिक तौर पे सबल नहीं बनाएंगे, मजबूत नहीं बनाएंगे, विकास की परिभाषा अधूरी रह जाएगी. और इसी प्रयास के तहत मनरेगा को एक सफल कार्यक्रम में हमने चलाने का निश्चय किया है.
The Rural Job Guarantee Scheme was announced in February 2006 by the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. The act guaranteed a minimum 100 days of employment out of the 365 days in a year to every willing household within 15 days of making such a requisition. Inability to provide employment within 15 days from the date had to be compensated through an unemployment allowance. These provisions made Manrega one of the best wages for work program for the rural poor, and within no time its reach was expanded to cover almost the entire country.
पलाई रुका हुआ है सर. अभी हमारे यहाँ बिल्कुल अभी 10% लोग जो कहीं बाहर रहते हैं, कहीं 10%, लेकिन 90% हमारे यहाँ लाभुक जो मनरेगा के तहत काम करते हैं.
नरेगा से जो सड़क बनाई जा रही है गाँव में, उनमें मिट्टी डाल देते हैं और मलबा नहीं डलता है तो उसमें फिर दोबारा गड्ढा हो जाता है और वो बह जाती है बरसात में. कोई फ़ायदा नहीं हो रहा उससे. अगर वो दोबारा ढंग से बने और उनमें मलबा ढंग से डले तो वो बहे नहीं और फिर उनको 1 साल या 2 साल में डामरीकरण करनी चाहिए.
Since the beginning, the expenditure on the Manrega program has amounted to over 3 lakh crore rupees. Out of this, 71% has been spent on wage payments to workers. Over 1,980 crore person days have been generated in the program. With inputs from Arvind Kumar Singh, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi today upped the ante against the BJP-led NDA government on the issue of the Manrega. He took a dig at Prime Minister Modi vis-a-vis his government's stand on the welfare scheme. The Congress Vice President was in Bandalipalli village of Anandpur in Andhra Pradesh to meet Manrega workers. This is the village where the flagship program of the previous UPA government was launched 10 years ago. Rahul also used the platform to target the Modi government on the issue of special status to Andhra Pradesh, asking the Prime Minister to fulfill the promise made during UPA's regime.
तो अरुण जेटली जी मेरे पास आए और उन्होंने भी बंद कमरे में मनरेगा की प्रशंसा की और मुझे कहा कि ये बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम है. गरीब व्यक्ति को समझ आ गई बात, मजदूर को आ गई, किसान को आ गई, यूएन को आ गई, वर्ल्ड बैंक को आ गया, इकोनॉमिस्ट को पता लग गई बात, मगर हिंदुस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री को यह बात नहीं समझ आई.
And our correspondent Vishal Dahiya has been tracking the story. Let's go straight across to him. Vishal, as far as Manrega is concerned, this has been really a bone of contention with the NDA government, not initially speaking very highly of it, but somehow over the past years has changed its stance. So in the upcoming budget, do we expect more allocations to Manrega, and do we expect politics over this to continue?
Well, yes, indeed, Ishan, that is something which is likely to happen. And both sides are likely to engage in a much more intense verbal duel over the issue. We might see some more high-pitched comments coming in from both sides, given the fact that, all these leaders will be sitting together inside the Parliament House for the budget session in a few weeks' time from now. But significantly, if you look at BJP's point of view, which is ruling, which is the ruling party right now, when the program was launched around 10 years ago, there were, some skepticism which was, put forth by the BJP leaders then as well. And from time to time, the BJP, which was the main opposition party then, had pointed out certain lacunas in this particular scheme, pointing out to how, the wages meant for the beneficiaries are not reaching them. Then there were several changes which were made. And now that they are in power, it seems there are certain changes which have been made by the government, as we could make out from the finance minister's and the rural development minister's statement today. In today's program, it was pretty much clear that the government, the NDA government, is also putting a lot of focus on this scheme, which used to be UPA's flagship program. That is exactly what the bone of contention here seems to be, because last year during the budget session, during a discussion on the budget, the Prime Minister himself had, took a dig at the Congress party and Congress leadership sitting inside the House then, saying that this Manrega scheme is a sort of a living monument of the Congress's failure to tackle the issue of poverty in this country for the last 50 to 60 years since it has been in power most of the time. And now that his government and his ministers are talking highly of the scheme and pointing out some very significant changes, the Congress leaders are now pointing out that this is a turnaround, this is a U-turn by the Narendra Modi government. It seems the Prime Minister and his ministers were not very convinced of the scheme earlier, but now they are trying to repackage the scheme again and then put it forth as one of theirs. So obviously this is something which is an add-on to that tussle between the Congress and the ruling party BJP over several other schemes and several other issues which have been ongoing for almost 20 months now.
All right, Vishal, we'll leave it here. Thanks very much for joining us and letting us know what's the latest in the sparring between the Congress and the BJP. Now, the sparring ground for both the parties will, of course, be the Parliament. And the government has called an all-party meeting on the 4th of February to discuss the duration of the upcoming budget session of Parliament. Parliamentary Affairs Minister, M. Venkaiah Naidu, has written to all parties seeking their advice regarding the budget session, which coincides with the election schedule of 5 states. Usually, the budget session begins in the 3rd week of February and concludes early May. Now, there is a recess in between when the budgetary demands for grants are discussed in the committees. But this year, the process for the assembly elections in West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam and Puducherry will begin in the midst of the session, and that could affect the number of sittings. A curtailment may be necessary to accommodate campaigns by leaders during these elections. The other option could be doing away with the recess between the two parts of the budget session in order to finish it before the schedule of the assembly polls. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the Global Ayurveda Fest in Kozhikode in Kerala. The Prime Minister said that the government is fully committed to promoting Ayurveda and traditional systems of medicines. He also said that escalating costs of treatment and side effects of medicines have prompted experts to think of widening horizons to traditional systems. Modi also emphasized that necessary steps are being taken to ensure the quality of Ayurveda products being made in the country. Kerala Chief Minister Chandi, Governor Justice P. Sathashivam and Health Minister V.S. Shivakumar were also present on the occasion.
We are committed to promote the use of traditional medicines in our public health system through regulation of research and appropriate integration of quality products, practices and practitioners into the health system. Traditional medicine is affordable to many of the rural people. It is locally available to the community, time tested for its safety and efficacy.
Now, a roundup of all the other national news around the country nationwide. Students from various universities across Delhi staged a protest outside the police headquarters today. This after the video surfaced showing police thrashing a group of students with sticks and fists and women being dragged by the hair during a protest over Dalit student Rohit Vemula's suicide in the national capital. Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung also summoned Delhi Police Joint Commissioner S.K. Gautam and sought a report on the police action against the students. The Delhi High Court today issued a notice to the South Delhi Municipal Corporation, Delhi Police and Ryan International School following the death of a student at the school. This comes after a petition was filed by AAP MLA Colonel Devinder Shehrawat. Shehrawat urged the court to pass an order directing a judicial inquiry into the incident. Actor Anupam Kher's participation in the Karachi Literary Festival, which starts on Friday, has been cancelled after claims by the actor that he was denied a visa by the Pakistani government. The other 17 Indian participants got their visas in time. Meanwhile, Pak officials claimed that the veteran actor had not even applied for a visa. Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Years of Manrega in India. A decade of what's considered the world's biggest ever social welfare program. Just how successful has it been? Has it had the desired impact? Watch The Big Picture at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Some international news now. And in the United States, Senator Ted Cruz defeated billionaire Republican hopeful Donald Trump at the Iowa Republican caucus on Monday. Cruz took 28% of the Republican vote, beating his rivals Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. Meanwhile, Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton won the Iowa precinct by a coin toss as Clinton and Senator Bernie Sanders came to a close tie.
About all of us, it's not just me.
A huge setback for Republican frontrunner Donald Trump, as he was dealt a terrible blow by his rival Ted Cruz at the Iowa caucus, a crucial vote to be the Republican Party's White House nominee for 2016. Texas Senator Ted Cruz won 28% of votes with 8 delegates. Donald Trump won 24% with 7 delegates. And Marco Rubio won 23% also with 7 delegates. But the loss notwithstanding, Trump sounded optimistic about his chances in the upcoming New Hampshire primary.
I'm just honored. I'm really honored. And I want to congratulate Ted, and I want to congratulate all of the incredible candidates, including Mike Huckabee, who's become a really good friend of mine. So congratulations to everybody.
Let's do Hillary over here.
For the Democrats, it was a tiebreaker, with both Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders winning roughly 50% in the caucus that was too close to call. The former U.S. Secretary of State breathed a sigh of relief as she gained a dramatic victory by coin toss. At the Iowa caucus, ties are solved by picking a name out of a hat or by the simple tossing of a coin. Hillary Clinton won 50% of the votes with 22 delegates. Bernie Sanders also gained nearly 50% of the votes, but with 21 delegates.
Wow! What a night! An unbelievable night! What a great campaign! This has been an incredible honor to campaign across Iowa with so many of you to make the case for the kind of future we want for the Democratic Party and for the United States of America.
I think the people of Iowa have sent a very profound message to the political establishment, to the economic establishment, and, by the way, to the media establishment. And that is given the enormous crises facing our country.
The Iowa caucuses kick off the series of elections which will be held in every U.S. state. It will ultimately determine who will become each party's official presidential candidate. Winners of each primary or caucus are awarded a number of party delegates who will endorse that candidate at the party conventions later in July. Whoever has the most delegates wins. The 2016 U.S. election results are eagerly awaited as grundled Americans worry about issues as varied as immigration, terrorism, income inequality and healthcare. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Pakistani parliamentary panel on Monday asked its government to avoid encouraging support to militant groups in Kashmir. The panel also asked them to take immediate action against terrorist outfit involved in attacks in Kashmir in order to dispel international concerns. The panel also suggested that Pakistan's policy towards India should be based on 4 key principles: reciprocity, reduction, resumption and result. India has been repeatedly demanding Pak action against militant groups operating from its soil. Some more international news now in Global Buzz. The World Health Organization has declared the mosquito-borne Zika virus to be an international public health emergency. WHO Director General has called for coordinated international action to improve detection and speed up work on a vaccine. He also said that curbs on travel or trade are not necessary just yet. The United Nations hosted a second day of formal peace talks for Syria in Geneva. The talks urged powers to push for ceasefire as the Syrian army and allied militia made further advances today that could cut insurgent supply lines. The opposition has said that without a halt to the bombing, it will not participate in the Geneva talks. Nearly 24 nations gathered today to plot their fight against the Islamic State and how to choke off its rise in Libya. 23 nations from the wider global coalition to counter ISIL will review their efforts to regain Syrian and Iraqi territory from the jihadist group and to discuss ways to curb its influence, especially in Libya. Well, time now for all the sports action in Sports Beat. Barcelona star Lionel Messi will meet an Afghan boy who gained internet fame after his photos of wearing a plastic-made jersey with Messi written on it went viral. The Afghan Football Federation said Messi was keen to meet this young boy as soon as possible, but no dates or venue has been finalized so far. Argentina's coach Gerardo Martino says Lionel Messi will not play in the Rio Olympics. Martino said Messi will play in the Sentinel Copa America tournament in the United States but not in the Olympics in Brazil. Martino said it will be too much for Messi to play in both events. The Sentinel Copa America will begin on the 3rd of June and the Olympics will start on the 5th of August. English clubs took spending on players for the season soaring past £1 billion. The biggest signing on the transfer deadline day was that of Manchester City confirming Pep Guardiola as manager. Well, that's it from Us Goodbye.